People who work for the super rich, what things have you seen? I'm a driver for a pharmaceutical Aries, and what I witnessed over the past 6 months still gives me chills. My boss is worth about $2 billion, but she has this bizarre ritual every Tuesday and Thursday. She makes me drive her to the absolute worst neighborhood in the city, drops her off at this rundown free clinic that looks like it's about to collapse, and tells me to come back in 6 hours. At first, I assumed it was some high-profile charity work. Rich people love their photo ops, right? But she never brought cameras, reporters, or even business cards. Just showed up in old jeans and a faded t-shirt. After 3 weeks of this routine, my curiosity got the better of me. I parked around the corner and followed her inside. What I saw blew my mind. She wasn't writing checks or cutting ribbons for publicity. She was in medical scrubs, cleaning bedpans, changing IVs, and doing the grittiest work in the place. Her name tag just said Linda, no last name, no title. I watched this billionaire pharmaceutical CEO get absolutely chewed out by a head nurse. For being too slow with medication rounds, she would just apologize quietly and work faster. She emptied trash cans, mopped floors, and held buckets while patients threw up. The staff treated her like any other volunteer, which means they treated her like garbage when things went wrong. During one shift, I saw her spend 2 hours holding the hand of an elderly man having a panic attack because they were short-staffed and couldn't afford anxiety medication. She missed her lunch break to stay with him after a shift. I overheard 2 patients talking in the waiting room. One said, "That volunteer Linda is such a sweet lady. She stayed 3 hours past her shift yesterday to help me fill out insurance paperwork." The other patient replied, "Yes, she actually cares about us. You can tell she's not just here to pad her college resume, like those rich kids who show up once and disappear." A third patient chimed in, "Linda told me she knows what it's like to worry about medical bills. She gets it." I almost laughed out loud. This woman's company literally manufactures half the medications these people can't afford. One day, I watched a young mother break down crying because she couldn't afford her son's asthma inhaler. My boss quietly slipped her $60 from her own wallet, not some corporate fund, just her personal money. The woman hugged her and said, "You're an angel, Linda." In the car ride home that day, I finally worked up the courage to ask her about it. She looked at me in the rearview mirror and said, "My company makes the drugs that keep those people alive. I need to see what happens when they can't afford them. I need to know their names and their stories." She paused, then added, "Board meetings are just numbers on spreadsheets. But Mrs. Rodriguez in bed 7 has been rationing her insulin for 2 months because it cost $400. That's not a number. That's a person." The next Tuesday, I watched her sit in a boardroom arguing with her own executives about lowering prescription prices. She used specific patient names I'd heard her mention from the clinic. Mrs. Rodriguez, Mr. Thompson, Sarah with leukemia. The board members kept talking about profit margins and shareholder value. My boss slammed her hand on the table and said, "She is 19 years old, and she's going to die because she can't afford medication that costs us $12 to manufacture." One executive had the nerve to say, "We can't save everyone." Hell, my boss fired him on the spot. Within 2 months, 7 of those medications became available at cost through a new patient assistance program. Last week, I drove her to the clinic. As usual, the head nurse, who used to yell at her, pulled Linda aside and said, "I don't know what you did, but 3 of our sickest patients just got approved for free medications. You're a miracle worker." My boss just smiled and said, "Sometimes miracles just take the right paperwork." That head nurse still has absolutely no idea she was bossing around the woman who owns the entire pharmaceutical